Pelutius says, Teut is the supreme god. The name Teut or Tis gave the name to God. The Spaniards and Gauls called him Teut, or one compound name Teutat, God the Father. The Germans called him Tis or Teut, and often with one nickname as God, Vod, Vodan, Odin, which means good. The Thracians called it Tis or Kotis, the god Tis. The Greeks called him Dis, Zeus or Theos. Italians Dis, Tus, Deus with one diphthong, and sometimes Mantus, the good Tus. Markel says that the Sabine king of Rome, Tatius, had a Celtic name Tat, which is Latinized, which means father. The three great gods of the Celts, that is, the Holy Trinity, were Teutates, Taranis, Essus. Pelutius says that Teut was also called Taran, as Jupiter fulminator in Romance, as Odin or Wodan or Thor, the god of thunder. The Bretons called the god of thunder Kurun. Kurun or Kernuns is one and the same. Some Celtic tribes were named after Teutos, such as Teutanes, Teutonari, Teutobodiaci, Teutosages, Teuriski, Taulanti, etc. Pelutier here includes Teuriske and Taulanti, two tribes in Serbia which are not found anywhere else. This is just more proof of who Celts really were. He says of the Taurian Pelutians, Taurian or Taurists, which some call Ligurian, inhabited on Danube. King Kretezir, who defeated the Buerabista, and they were therefore forced to leave their old homeland and look for a new settlement in the neighboring provinces. They found her in Norik. For the famous tribe Tectosaga from the region of Toulouse, Pelutier says that their names should mean people who speak the language of Teut or are of Teut origin. Pelutier then says, Tectosagi was a common name for countless Celtic tribes, not to mention all detachments, as they believed to be descended from god Teut, whom Julius called Dis and Tacitus Twiston. They were called Teutons, Tectons, Teutobodiacs, Tauris, Taulanti, and several other similar names, all in connection with their origin. All were considered to be descended from Teutas and were called Teuteski, which the Germans later changed to Deutsche or Teutsche, and the Frusi to Tudesk. Pelutier says, Celts believed that they were descendants from the god called Dis, Tiuston, Tiuskon, Teut, Teutates, and because of that they look similar names that express the nobility of their race. And the people of Germania today are only ones who keep the name Teutschen. But if we go back to ancient times, we find that the name was common to all Celtic people, although they pronounced it differently due to different dialects. Servius, for example, after pointing out that the city of Pisa was named after a certain Pisa king of the Celts, says later, according to Cato's testimony, that the Teutons lived in this area before the Russians took it. At that time, the inhabitants of the city were called Teutashi, and the city of and the city Teuta itself. Earlier in Gaul, there was people called the Wolves of Testosaga, a people of Teutonic origin. Julius claims that there were other Testosagas in Germany around the Hercynian forest. It can be seen from this that these people did not yet know about the German name. They did not take any other than the one that says that they are the sons of Teut. There were other Teutons and Tectons along the Baltic Sea where they inhabited vast areas. The whole of Scandinavia was inhabited by the Teutons. One Serbian tribe in the north of Europe has been known for the longest time under that name as the Teutons or Tektons. That name comes from this tribe, from which the Germans and Dutch made their national names. Pritchard and Latham say, Deutsch, Dutch, Tidske, etc. Whatever form of this name takes, it gives us the root teut, since sh, ch, shke, and etc. is neither less nor more than ish in English word selfish. Nicolaus Vorlab, work published in Bautzen in 1556, connects the origin of the Germans to the mythical person Tiuskon and says that Tuiskon was a great-grandfather of the Sarmatians, who are now Poles, Russians, Lithuanians, Borussians, Dacians, Sedmobragians, and Hungarians. In general, I took all the Scythian people. A little further on, Vorlab says that Duringen is a Vandian name. Bohardius derives the name Germania from the Serbian word Karania and says, Karania or Karavia in Thracia, which is mentioned by Pliny, Dioscord, and Athenae, from this word became Geranium or Keranium, which is finally moved into Germanam. This is explained by that the Romans often replaced letter gamma and ka, like in exchange of names Gaius and Caius. As we have already explained, Karania was a large-scale administrative unit among Serbs. Germania, that is, old Germany, was completely responsible for such an administrative unit. The Germans are therefore Serbian Karanians, which is not the name of the people, but the name of a member of one administrative unit, the Karanians. The name Gali, which the Romans gave to Celts, according to Bohardius, originated as follows. Galliam echval, which is Silvam forests, from val came wald, wild, silvestris. Val also means wall, which in Latin is valum, valum. This word came from the Latins to the Anglo-Saxons. Val means every wall, but this word also refers to the forest, says Bohardius. In Latin, val meant a wall, any wall, or obstacle or fortification, which is literally the Serbian word val. The famous Macedonian and Dardanian phalanx is in fact valanga, a movable fortress which looked like a wall, and the forest once served as a fortress as well as a bay or cove. Thus was born the name Gali or Vali. One Serbian tribe of the Helm, Balkan Peninsula was called Trivali, which the Greeks referred to as Tribali. Immigrants who settled in Celtic Germany after separating from the Getic branch no longer formed only different families, but grouped into tribes and peoples. Each of these tribes bore a special name, which is most often, as with the Scandinavians, taken from the name of the god from whom the tribe was considered the origin. The Celts had their social basis a tribe called Teuti and later Touti, Toti, English Theod. This name is also found in Umbrian and Osco in Italy, in Irish Tuat, in Welsh Tud. Latins replaced this word with civitates. To this we can add an Old German word for tribe, diot, diota, or the Middle German word diet. The Romans compared Celtic Teutus with their Mercury and the Greeks with Hermes, as is the case in other places among the people of the Serbian race. This stems from the fact that Teut, as with the Celts as elsewhere, had a role of protector of travelers and merchants, or was simply a personification of the protector under the name Taran.